Okay, if you look at my mug here, my grill, I look like I just got out of prison. Look at me, I was probably in prison for a month. Which is kind of the case, I just didn't care enough to shave, but when I shave I also cut my own darn hair, so I'll show you how that's done, and I'll use it as a launch off point to talk about, what am I talking about? Using it as a launch off point to talk about men's haircuts in general, the different kinds of fades you can do and how it's done. And you know, it's a little fun thing. I guess us ethnic guys are really into hair and get haircuts every 2 weeks, so kind of like a Puerto Rican guy in that way. But I'm going to start with shaving my face, and then I'll go into retouching up this fade, which looks pretty good actually, not gonna lie, look at that. But let's get it nice and clean. I gotta look more grown-uppy. So, got my clippers here, and I'm just gonna go as low as I can just for my facial hair here. So nothing too remarkable, I'm just trying to make everything even and trying to stop this stuff from poking me in the neck because that hurts, dude. That's all clean. I actually like to keep a bit of, I'm using just the clippers because I like to keep a little bit of mustache, except like I like to keep a bit of this just for definition's sake. Looks kind of cool. And I don't look like a child or whatever, so that's good. So obviously I'm not blowing your mind, but this is part of the process. Cleaning myself up, doing some manscaping, and my first actual tip starts here. Don't even bother with the sideburn, just kind of get all the stuff that looks like it's struggling, looks like it's overgrown. Because this you'll get to after, so it's nice to have more to play with here. But let's keep going, shave her up. There's a fair bit of length, and that kind of pokes me in the neck and bothers me, so. First step, simple. And then finally here is the step where I just go back and kind of look for anything I've missed. But it seems pretty good. Especially in the neck, sometimes you miss stuff on here. But everything's nice and short. There's my face, kind of clean again. So I don't know, clean mug on that. This is probably like maybe a 0? Yeah, so 0 on the face, and we'll get started on this fade. So this is actually the most daunting part. First thing I'll mention is the type of fade I have. Everyone thinks, you know, having a comb over is all the same thing, but as you can see I go pretty low here. This is kind of like a revamp 1920s. In the 20s they'd actually only fade to here, like the tools were different obviously, so they'd only fade about the sideburn and then just a bit on the back, and then they take everything back. So this is kind of like a revamp 20s. I go up into the ear a little bit, so that's a little more 40s, but I also have long hair, so I'm talking about the fade, not the haircut. Just the way the hair tapers to the skin. And having it like this, I'm not saying you have to have a fade all your life, but like, it is the best way because it complements the curves of a man's face. So we'll get cracking on that. So my first step is just to get everything I'm not working on out of the way. Do it with a headband. I do it with a clip as well. Just get that too consistent. Where I typically find that it gets weird is right behind the ear there. And then I'll just go back. So as you can see, nothing's really changing. I'm just taking off a small bit where all the longest hairs are. And the same thing on this side. Just take the camera and position it this way though. Let's go this way. Because when you're your own barber, you need to get all the angles. So I can hear some length coming off, but obviously if most of the hair here is shorter than what this clipper allows, then it's going to stay. So that's why nothing's really changed, but we're evening out the whole thing. So, it's our first step. Come back here. Yeah, there's two sides I gotta work with, so you'll see an angle here, an angle here for each side. You may be wondering, oh, what makes you an expert on haircuts? But in high school, I got a haircut every 4 weeks at your local hipster barbershop, so you can kind of tell when you've had that kind of experience what exactly constitutes, like what exactly you're looking for when you get a haircut. Which is what I aim for every time. Obviously, I'm not the best hair cutter, but I can do the job and it looks good, so here we go. That's our first step, and these are steps that I've seen. I've never been taught any of this, but when you see the beginning, middle, and end of a haircut many times, you get used to it. Okay, so that's our 2. And then after that you move to your 1, which is an 1/8 of an inch compared to a 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to move my fade guide up so I have more length. Maybe try to keep it all in one place, but yeah, I'll do it like, yeah, I'll do it all the way. See how it looks. Now, best place to test is at the start of your sideburn, because that's gonna be short anyway. So yeah, probably not short enough for my intents and purposes. So I'm gonna do a bit of maybe halfway, so I'll go a little lower. And what I'm gonna do is aim for keeping maybe a 1-inch margin. Let's do it this way. Between you know, your mainland hair and the stuff you're fading. So, and then if you go a little more than that, what you do is just even it out together. So I started with a 2 and now I have a 1 and a bit. So you just kind of get that line started. You don't have to make it a beautiful fade just yet. So this is kind of like step 2 in the fade, but when you have a fade you don't want to see steps, so this is just kind of your first little gradation, let's call it. So as you can see here, maybe I have maybe just under an inch of a margin between here and there. Might be even tighter, but yeah, I might even go a touch tighter. So maybe like 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch from mainland hair town. Just kind of pull back as well too. So that looks about good. I'll do the same on the other side, which you'll see here. You're just trying to make everything even, in the sense that you don't want anything to be visibly different from anything else. But if you make mistakes, it's not a huge deal. This will grow back in 4 days. You'll look normal regardless of what botch job you do. So that's another tip. So say you got a wedding or something, do it 2 weeks before and you'll be good. Or maybe 1 week before, you'll still be good. Okay. It's kind of weird, but it'll be alright. Same thing here, and just double check. Okay, so first 2 steps of the fade are done. I have a 2, and I have a 1 and a bit. Let's call it 1.5. So what I'll do is, I was at 1.5, so that was the 1 clipper with just a bit of length. So I'm just going to 1 even. And then I'll probably just try to touch a little lower than that. So maybe this will be like 1.5 inches. For here it's like 1.5 inches, and then here, because there's less to work with, probably maybe 1 inch from the mainland hair, let's call it. Trim off one. Let's just trim some of that off. But at this point it's pretty simple. All you're doing is blending. It's kind of like a makeup of some other. Let's see if my shit's still going. There we go. Same thing here. It's gonna bring it a little up there, bit into there, and a bit into there, just to clean it up a little bit. So that's where I'm starting, and that went by pretty fast actually. So now that I've got my 1 out of the way, it's as short as I can go with a 1 clipper in. No clipper, but I'm going to take my fade adjuster and bring it to the top, and I'll test what that looks like. So I'll probably take this length, just bring it up. This is probably the point where I just start cleaning stuff up. So any scraggly kind of bits that you have on your neck and then other stuff, this is where you start cleaning it up. Bring it over here. And after this, you're just cleaning to there. Now that's done. And that didn't take too long at all. So that's where we are. And last bit I'm going to do is go to the shortest this clippers could possibly go. So which is what I did here. And just kind of clean it up just on the very edges. So right there is all I'm going to do. For this length, a bit around the neck, because you don't want any random weird hairs, but you also don't want to touch your fade too much. There we go. So honestly, not difficult at all. I'm pretty much done. I'm just cleaning up this corner. Just a bit around the ear, but you don't even need to. And that's literally it, pretty much. As you can see, there's a bit of a line there. If I was really zealous, I could probably go in and make it shorter, but for my intents and purposes right now, it's actually alright. Because I feel clean, my face is clean now. And I'll actually check back in after I take a shower. I'm going to wash my hair and junk, and we'll see how we've changed appearance-wise. Looks pretty darn good. So that's what we got right now. Let me pull these clips and stuff out. As you can see, the back is good and faded. There's a bit of a halo around it, but that helps blend it so I don't look like I'm, just fucking got an undercut. There's an actual fade to it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a normal dude's haircut except for the bun. So I'll check back in with you right after I take a shower, but as you can see, the back has a nice fade, the sides are nice and even, and yeah, that's how you cut a fade. So there's different tricks after that to figure out whether or not you did a good job. So what Kian taught me from Queer Eye is that if you take, say, an inch into here, you stick your finger there, into your hairline, stick your finger an inch there, and those are even. Okay, that's even. And then you can do the same thing just right above the ear, right above the ear. Put a finger there, right above the ear, put the finger there. And if that's the same spot, then you're good. And I generally, typically, I just have a finesse for it now, so it's not a huge deal anymore. So that's the fade. I'll get some pics after as well. But you'll see how much I've improved from the beginning of this video to now. Alright, so I'm back with the finished haircut. So here's me bun and that, but as you can see, it's much cleaned up compared to what I looked like earlier. I'll put that right there. That's what I look like. Know what I mean? And then maybe this side, like that. Know what I mean? So speaking on having good decorum as far as manscaping goes, as you can see here, you know, you have to be conscious. You have to make conscious decisions, and often you have to, you know what you're looking for so that you can achieve that. So if, here's me with, you know, as opposed to being fresh out of prison, you know, I've shaved a little bit so my face isn't all messy. I guess it was a look before, but it wasn't very intentional. And, you know, for example, if you're going for a job interview or something like that, you don't want to be like that. So keeping my hair clean. And another thing I noticed typically when you have long hair is the stuff at the bottom like this and the stuff on the sides just starts to get weird because it's a fair bit shorter from the get-go and it's a little thinner, it's a little weaker. So I think it's just more beneficial to do it like this, because this is a normal men's haircut. If I took this bun away, I would just have a normal haircut. So as you can see, with this fade I've cleaned up the ability for, you know, I can still wear it down and stuff and have it like that, but so just to break it down, there's different haircuts, you know, ways of fading one's hair here to there, and there's no particularly right way to do it. It's just what matches your hair and how you're feeling. So very often you'll see the high and tight, and this is a pretty common one. That one was around 1950s. So 1950s it would have been somewhere around here. The fade would have been. I might actually find pictures of myself with every haircut from the era because I can. So we've got the 1950s fade. High and tight just means where your hair starts, where your part would start, is where, so my part is technically here. A high and tight would take this and draw it out all the way up to here and then just do a bit of fading. There's the mid, which is what I kind of have, but the bottoms are a little low. So you can do a mid fade, which is what you see here. And there's low fades like 1920s kind of haircuts, and there's just different haircuts for different eras, and it's only because they use different tools at different times. So there's just a whole variety of different fades that you can choose from, or, you know, kind of paint onto your head. So here's mine. As you can see, this kind of top a little longer, bottom nice and, you know, buzzed out, is kind of what we're looking for, because it blends as your hair grows out as opposed to being weird. So that's why I like the faded nape. This is the nape of your neck. And typically on a short haircut you'll have what's called a block out. So there'd be just a line, but that line compared to this fade, it won't fade naturally when your hair grows out. So you're going to have some really clean stuff and you're going to have some really wonky stuff. When you've got a fade like this and here as well, as everything grows out, it still looks natural whilst maintaining that you know, accentuation of your face and head. So If you have any questions, leave a comment. But as far as I'm going, as you can see, you know, fading your hair isn't too hard, and I encourage you to keep your hair this way because you can do it anyway. So imagine having, you know, say I had 3 feet less hair, I'd still have a normal haircut, and that's the fun of a fade. Thanks.